I'm Matthew O'Hara, and I am the manager of the video engineering as well as our DVD and Blu-ray production. I also work very closely with our audio department, our editing department, to basically bring all the different elements of production together for whatever formats we're outputting, specifically our Blu-ray and DVD products. I've been with Funimation for 6 years now, and my background is in DVD and Blu-ray production. So we started with DVD, and we started with Blu-ray very slowly with a couple titles and built up that production here with the, doing the in-house authoring, all of our video compression, all of our audio compression. So all the different elements that need to come together to make a Blu-ray possible, started that 6 years ago. And we were doing about a title a month, and now we're doing much, much more. And almost all of our content is on Blu-ray in HD in some form, so we've come a long way.
I've been wanting Dragon Ball Z in HD. Like as soon as like the Blu-ray, the Kais came out, I got them all because I'm a Blu-ray fan because I like things to be visually clear.
When I first saw it, being younger, I was like, oh, that's the coolest. But if you see it now, spruced up, you're like, you can't compare. It's just so much better.
Dragon Ball Z has been released several times in different formats. And with so much entertainment and media available in high definition and beyond, it's about time that we finally were able to see Dragon Ball Z, the entire series, in high definition. Because this was produced on film and not on video, there is detail in the image. There is characteristics of the original film and the way the show is produced that would not be otherwise visible in what we'd call standard definition format. And up till now, as great as the other releases are, it's only been available in standard definition. So this is the first opportunity to see the entire series in high definition. When we're looking at that, we're looking at both a Blu-ray, high definition. We're also looking at the tools we have available and to really give our fans the best experience possible and to be able to see this entire series, which is just so well loved by anime fans. We've brought all these elements together, and this will be the best presentation of the complete series yet.
Now the new technology is coming out, like everyone's getting like higher resolution. Like they're always remastering all the old movies, like all the old Disney classic VHS movies are doing it. And the fact that Dragon Ball Z is doing it, it's like puts them on par with everything else.
I really like the remastering. Everything's clear. It's always great when everything's clear. You can see a lot more detail.
Dragon Ball Z is such a fundamental brand. It is such an important show to the industry and to our company at Funimation. And from a technical side, I could address how production, our internal production, has to deal with it. It has also been the most challenging. Not only the processes of restoration, but also the quantity of the material. There's more material to go through, so many hours and hours of footage, hundreds and hundreds of episodes. So it poses, not only is it one of the most loved anime series of all time, it also is one of our greatest challenges just because we have not just a lot of material to go through, but because it's so important, we have a responsibility to do the best job we possibly can. So we don't take this lightly, and it's very important to us to do the best job we can with the material. And I think our fans are going to be able to see more detail. They're going to really see what we've done with it presentation-wise, and also really see some of that character from that original film.
By tapping into this system, we should have Goku up to speed in no time.
I'm sitting here at one of our desks where we are doing our Phoenix restoration, and Phoenix is a software made by Digital Vision, and we're working closely with them and using their different software packages because they provide a lot of tools for restoration, remastering, a lot of corrective work that's necessary when you're dealing with some older material. When we looked at what we've done over the last couple of years, we've done a significant amount of restoration work, and we've built up a skill set, we've built up a tool set. If we look at the whole scope, start to end, we're talking about material that is that we receive on 16 millimeter film. So we have a print that's 16 millimeter, and that needs to be transferred. So we don't do the transfer process here, but there's a process referred to as telecine, which is taking the film and transferring that to a high definition video. The format that it comes in on is the highest quality video format available. It's called HDCam SR. And we ingest that into a format where every single frame is its own picture. It's called a DPX, or digital picture exchange format, where the tools we use here, which I'm using now, allows us to go through frame by frame and evaluate each frame, identify areas to fix, and we have a handful of tools to make corrections. Now, to clarify, when I say fix, what we're doing is our intent is to preserve the kind of original image that was intended. So through the process of conversions, film is a organic material. It's over time there can be problems with dust collecting on the film, scratches, flicker, and a lot of these problems can be very severe. So what our objective is to take as much of those flaws or of that damage or anything that's happened to that film over time, and to using the tools we have and using the material that we have available, make the cleanest and best quality product we can. So this is going to be a significant improvement over what was done before. The Dragon Ball Z series was previously remastered for DVD, and it's a fantastic product. The entire it's close to 300 episodes, at least 291 episodes. That for DVD was an amazing product. It had never before been seen on 16:9. It was brighter and bolder. It had a new look. And so now that we're looking at a Blu-ray of the complete series, we're looking at both what had been done before with which is referred to as the orange box or the season sets, and what was good about that, what do we like about that, what made that really popular and people really enjoy it, and then what do we have now? What do we have to work with now? So we have a new film transfer that was done at high definition, and we're looking at, well, we could recreate the orange box or the season sets the same way, and is that what we want to do, and is that what choices do we need to make? And really what we're doing is we're creating a presentation that's very complementary to the DVD. However, high definition alone is going to reveal more detail. Now that's good and bad. It's good because now you can see finer detail in the lines, you can see details in the backgrounds that you may not have seen before. However, it also brings front and center some of the issues on that film that you may not have seen before, so you'll definitely notice that. So we're trying to address those issues. The first thing we do once that material is ingested, as I mentioned before, we're bringing this in a picture sequence or DPX sequence, and the software tool allows us to go through frame by frame. So we're using a combination of paint tools, which we refer to as dust and fix. We have 5 engineers working all the time. This is a process that just that manual process of going through and evaluating and identifying where there may be a frame that needs to be painted over, or we need to borrow some information from another frame and correct a scratch or dust or a blemish on the film. That process can take over a week just for one engineer to work on. So they go through this, and as they complete that process, we transition to other steps. So we're looking at evaluating the framing of the shots. There's a lot of shakiness. So with a 16 millimeter film, there's a lot of shake that if you're used to a digitally produced show that's made in a more modern way, that film shake is not going to be there. You're not going to see the frame shaking around or moving unless it's intended for the purpose of the show. So we're evaluating that, and when it's not intended, we're trying to correct that by stabilizing the shots. So we have a process we call steady where we stabilize that. And again, our digital vision tools allow us to do that. We have an engineer who goes through and evaluates every single shot. So this is not a process where we just sort of have a piece of software that just runs through and does some sort of magic process to fix everything automatically. The tools help, but really what we're doing is we're evaluating every shot so that it is framed as correctly as possible. The season set is being presented in 16:9. You can see an example here of how this image is being displayed both on professional monitors as well as on a consumer monitor for reference here, where we are taking advantage of the full 16:9 frame. The process of evaluating the framing of every shot allows us to maximize our image area for the 16:9 frame and focus in on the cleanest part of the picture. So when that process is done, we also go through a color correction process. And this is an interesting part of the process. Sometimes with the film transfer, some of the colors can become muted or the image can become dark. And so what we're doing is we're evaluating that range of brightness from the darkest dark areas to the brightest bright areas. And we're making sure that that is in the correct range so that when you watch it back on your consumer entertainment system through a DVD or Blu-ray, in this case it's going to Blu-ray, we want to make sure that those levels of black and white and the contrast from light to dark, as well as the balance of the colors in the image, are true to what was intended. We are making sure that the material is going to be brighter and bolder than ever before, but what that means is we're looking at kind of unmasking what could have been muted or darkened over time, and we're making sure that every episode is as bright and as bold as it should be. There is a creative process that can be involved with color correction, and in this particular case, we're utilizing some of that, but mainly our intent is to really preserve the look and feel of this show the way it was intended. So after the color correction process, we have additional stages of noise reduction. There is an element of grain to the show, so that grain is brought under control. We have a much cleaner and brighter image because we've been able to remove some of that grain and create a cleaner, brighter picture. And we're doing so in such a way to preserve the quality and clarity of the image. So that process then goes to our editing department, where we are editing and conforming the material to match that of the original season sets. So you will be able to see the complete series unedited, but this is from a new film source, fully restored, presented in a similar way to the season sets, but in a cleaner, brighter, bolder way that hasn't been seen before.
I really loved it. I mean, I remember the first one I watched was probably the Vegeta Goku series, and just the fighting style, you know, how cool everyone looked.
It's usually seen as like a boy show, so I wasn't too interested about it when I first heard of it. But eventually, when I actually started watching it, that's when I got hooked on.
I had to see what happened next. You can't just watch one episode.
Every man wants to see a good fight in any type of action genre.
So, vegetable breath, where exactly were you hiding? My scouter didn't show you anywhere.
Well, I guess it goes to show you how behind the times your use to skin your technology is. Time to finish you off, punk.
When we're looking at all these steps of restoration, we aren't just simply selecting a tool and saying, oh, okay, this reduces noise, or this reduces grain, or this adjusts color. We have to evaluate carefully to make sure that these tools are appropriate and that it's feasible to use them, and we have that our engineers can use them in an effective way to stay true to how the show is meant to be seen, but give it the best quality possible. So there's a lot of research, a lot of development, a lot of testing involved, where we'll try different settings, we'll try different processes and different a lot of different variables on how these tools can be configured. We work very closely with the developers of the restoration software, Digital Vision, to help us with that. We also utilize a lot of technical measurement tools to make sure that we are doing this correctly. You can see I have up a variety of video scopes, and what the scopes are these are different tools to allow us to see what our colors are set to, what our brightness is set to make sure that as we are doing the processes that we are maintaining the correct color balance and the correct brightness from the darkest areas to the brightest areas will transfer correctly through the process all the way through to the Blu-ray so that nothing is lost. We don't lose any dark areas in the shadows. We are overexposing or brightening the whites too much where we're losing detail. You'll get the full range of the image. So we have scopes that allow us to make these measurements and evaluate that. Because of the age of the film, this was a show that was produced from the late 80s to the mid 90s in Japan. The material that Funimation is using is 16 millimeter film. If it was a modern production, we would either receive a digital tape, maybe a digital transmission, hard drives. There's modern ways of transmitting material digitally. But at the time that this material was produced, the 16 millimeter film was the medium of choice at the time. So we have to take that and consider all of the issues that could happen. And we anticipate a lot and other things we come across as we work. And we have to do a lot of evaluation of the processes to make sure that we do it right.
A showdown of epic proportions is about to begin, and it all starts in the next exciting episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about the details of our restoration and remastering process. Big thanks to our fans. I really think you're going to enjoy this, or you are enjoying it already. And I hope that this gives you a little insight into what we do and how our team is putting forth the best effort to create the highest quality product available. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for being such a loyal fan to this series.